Hello, welcome back to Diary of a Creator. I am Victoria, the Soul-Led Career Coach, and this is a channel for ambitious, freedom-seeking souls like me who refuse to settle for the ordinary. So if you're feeling stuck in a career or a life that no longer fits, you're starting to question your path, and you're craving something more freedom, more alignment, more fulfillment, then you are in the right place. And if my content resonates, I would love it if you could like, share, subscribe, and follow. It just helps me to reach more souls who need to hear this message. So today I'm speaking to my guest Laura, who has just recently left her head of digital marketing role after a 16-year-long career in corporate to pursue what began as her side hustle as a human design reader, artist, and also a podcast host. Welcome, Laura, to Diary of a Creator. How are you?
Thank you. Very excited to be here. How are you?
I am good. I'm looking forward to our conversation. So if you just want to introduce yourself briefly to the audience, just a little bit about your journey from where you were in corporate to where you are now.
Yeah, so I'm Laura. I live in Sydney with my partner and my two fur babies. I'm originally from London, if you can't tell, and I've been here about 10 years now. I am currently working as a human design coach and also an acrylic artist. I'm also in training mode as well, learning about lots of new modalities. But very recently, I was actually in corporate. So I was head of digital for a media agency here in Sydney. I actually left that job 3 months ago. So very fresh.
Very fresh indeed.
Yes.
Tell me, so how long were you in that corporate career?
I had been in media agencies for 16 years.
Wow.
After uni, I literally started at 21 years old. I worked in media agencies in London and then here in Sydney as well. So a very long time.
Yeah. And of that 16 years, when was the moment where you started to go, this isn't quite it?
So I'd probably been feeling this kind of like niggle deep inside for about probably 5 years, if I'm completely honest with myself. And it just kept getting like louder and louder as the time went on.
Yeah.
And I felt that it was like a constant battle between my head and my gut.
Yeah.
So it was like, on one hand, my head was like, oh, you've got a good salary, a consistent paycheck. Sounds trivial, but like a really nice, shiny office, a car spot, like lovely people. Like the people in my agency were delightful, like made friends for life, and like working in digital marketing, those skills are obviously really, really valuable. So in my mind, I kept saying, this job is great. Media is a pretty cool industry. There's lots of perks. So yeah, on paper, it was like, I've got the dream role. And then I kept like questioning, like, why aren't I more grateful for this? Like, why am I more appreciative? I've made it. But then on some level, my gut was like, you're made for something more. Like, you've got this big mission to complete. And then my head's like, well, you've nailed the corporate world, you've got to head of digital, you've worked your way up. But it was like, no, there's something more niggling away inside that I need to be doing in this life. And I had that feeling for years, and it just got louder and louder. And I have had a lot of health issues over the last few years, and I've been on this journey around doing a lot of things for my health, like being on a very special diet, gave up alcohol. And like the media industry is so focused on entertaining, and it's kind of like all those things that really excited me in my younger years. It just felt like they weren't really aligned anymore.
Yeah.
And I kind of got to the point where, if I'm really honest with myself, I felt a bit like an alien in the agency. It's like I felt like this square peg in a round hole that didn't really fit. And I think probably more towards the end, that became really, really obvious, not just to me, but probably to other people as well, that I wasn't really as aligned as other people. And especially with my spirituality and the things that I do outside of work, it became apparent that maybe I had outgrown the industry, I guess.
What you're describing was with me as well, and it's this slow progression. The niggle in the voice just gets louder and louder. I felt like for me there was a period of living between worlds where you can't quite mesh the two parts of you, and it's very confusing because it's like, well, but hang on, this is everything you worked for. Why doesn't it feel like what you thought it would feel like?
Yeah. And it's funny you said that about being in two worlds, because I always felt like I was in like flitting between two different dimensions. It was like, outside of work, I was in one world, and it's also almost like I had to go through this vortex to get into the corporate world and then be another version of myself in like a different reality. And it just felt so extreme by the end. And I was like literally two different realities playing out, and it just, it's weird. It's a weird feeling.
It is weird. I used to have a pattern of quitting quite frequently and then going backpacking and living out of a suitcase and going to Ashford and doing all of this stuff. And then I would come back into corporate. It would take me ages to do the shift back into this. Then I'd go back to the party girl. I kept going like that.
Yeah, wow.
Like
I
the
think
two
also
voices.
like on a nervous system level as well, right? Because it's like, when you've like had a month off or something, and then you go back into the corporate world and you really have to rev yourself up and get yourself back in that like survival mode, adrenaline, go, go, go.
Very differently, yeah. But you've said, like, you touched on the point which is what most people, well, women who are sitting in the position where they're in corporate now with that niggle is, as you say, like, it makes sense on paper, which is why people just get so stuck. And so, when did you start exploring human design in
Mm.
your artwork?
Yeah, so this was in lockdown actually. So in 2020, obviously the gift of the lockdown is that like a lot of people reconnected with their passions and you have so much time, which was such a luxury. I was already into spirituality, but it just gave me that space to do so much self-work, read all the books, the podcasts, and I'd been interested in human design for a while. And I was like, I'm just going to get a certification. Why not? Just for fun. And I never thought that I would be doing anything with it. It was more just at that time, just for me. And then I started painting and I was like, I forgot how much I love this. It's like my meditation. And yeah, from there, people just kind of came to me saying, oh, can you do me a painting or can you do me a reading? So I then created like a little website that was more like a side hustle website and just kept that going on the side. So that's kind of how it started. But I never, ever envisioned that it would be anything more than that at the time. So yeah, it's kind of mind blowing now.
It's cool though, because that's how it will start for so many people, is it starts as a passion. Like you literally just
Mm,
followed what you truly wanted to
mm,
spend time doing, not knowing if it would go anywhere. So you would have started your side hustle back in 2020, and so
yeah.
you were running it as a side hustle until now. When did that intention shift for you, where
Mm.
it was like, hang on, this isn't just a hobby or a passion, this is what I'm here to do?
So I feel like maybe a few years ago it became very clear to me that like this was like the direction that I needed to go in. And as more, as I started to explore these modalities, even like in my human design or whatever, it would become very clear. It's like, the design of the entrepreneur, or, like it would be very clear as to what I was meant to be doing. But I kind of just suppressed it because
Mm,
I didn't really know how to deal with it. So I just carried on doing it, just very low level on the side. And you must know, like when you're in the corporate world, it's so busy. I barely had any space to focus on it. So I actually found myself getting really burnt out because trying to keep that going or even grow it on the side of, a corporate career is impossible. Or it was for me anyway, and especially in media, which is very fast paced. But yeah, a few years ago, it was like, okay, I know this is going to happen at some point. I didn't know when. So I just kind of waited, was patient, carried on, and just kind of waited for a sign that I needed to jump, I suppose.
Two things I want to touch on. The thing that came up when you were talking is the importance of space, because I did something similar where I was in my full-time corporate and then I started doing all my study and I ended up burnt out too because I was
Mm.
trying to, in essence, lump on far too much brain work on top of a full-time. Do you feel like, from a practical perspective, that it's possible to even create soul-led when you're doing it just as a side hustle without any form of space creation in your way?
Yeah.
No, you go.
Yeah, I think it completely depends on the individual circumstances. So like for me, media is fast paced. It's a lot. Like realistically, you don't often get a lunch break. You're probably going to be working late, right? So it's like media and starting a side hustle, very, very difficult. And then I think it also depends on what you're doing because like to put it into context for me, I have my art, which is time consuming. Painting takes a long time. You can't rush that process. I had my human design and I also started a podcast as well, just to add to the mix. A couple of years ago, my friend and I decided to kind of share spiritual learnings, wellness tips, lifestyle tips on a podcast. And that was a great outlet for me for my spirituality and to kind of share everything I'd learned. But as you can imagine, trying to do full-time corporate career and those three things, that is why I did get so burnt out because
Yeah.
if you've got a job where you're literally doing 9 to 5, you get a lunch break, you're going to finish at 5. You
Yeah.
probably can spend some more time in the evenings and you're not going to be so burnt out by the weekends. But for me, in my circumstances, it just wasn't possible at all. And I just found myself getting sicker and sicker as the time went on.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to manage. And I say it because I struggled with it too, where you come to this realization that what you're creating when you come from a mission base or a soul base, you can't do it when you're burnt out and in
Exactly.
survival because the energy just doesn't work. And for me, things only really kicked off when I created the space for them to kick off, or the space in my body and my energy field, which sounds about what you ended up needing to do. So before you came to, I guess, going from side hustle into this is what I'm going to do, you said you were waiting for a universal sign. What other kind of blocks were going on there around really, I guess, believing that you could step into it as your path?
I had so much fear. Like,
Mm,
I can't even tell you how much fear I had because it's like, it was monumental. I've had a fear of being seen since I've been 5 years old. I remember being in the school nativity play and I was an angel on stage and I had to hold the star over my face because I did not want anyone to see me. So this is like a deep-rooted fear of being seen. I can tell you mine was like, it was so strong that in 2020 my friends were like, oh, you should start like an Instagram for your human design. I couldn't even start the page. I couldn't even open an account because I was like, oh, what if people see this and they see that I've started this thing and they judge me? And it took me 12 months to even open an Instagram account. Like that's the level of fear that I'm talking about. So I've worked a lot on it. It's still there to some extent. I've come a long way, but I think it took until now to really get to the point where I did the self-work to work through those fears, because it would make me feel nauseous. I don't think I would have been ready a few years ago, to be honest.
You've hit on, I feel, the most common block for women coming into this. I've had it as well. I think I was lucky enough to I was almost forcibly conquered it through corporate, and I had an intense fear of public speaking, like intense. And I had to kind of move through that through the nature of what I did in corporate. So I almost cut a chunk off before I did that. But that fear of being seen is overwhelming, but it's also sneaky. I find it quite sneaky where it's your ego's almost convinced you not to do something because there's a fear of being seen, but you've not even kind of picked up that that's what it's doing. And I guess to the point where you were speaking about living in two worlds, for you to be seen in this business, you have to come out as the version that you may not have completely shown, aka out of the spiritual closet and all of this. And that's confronting.
Yeah, totally. Because the corporate world is a great boot camp for public speaking, holding meetings, all those kind of things. You get used to it, right? It just becomes second nature. But it's like being seen for your spiritual gifts is a whole other thing. So even though maybe I'd mastered my fear of public speaking through the corporate world, like, being seen as this spiritual person, like all the fears came back and it was just like a whole nother level. Because like also in my industry, it was like data, technology, analytics, like such masculine things that are opposite to spirituality. And then me being in that digital role, it was just such a paradox because people almost wouldn't expect it from me, but I wanted to stay true to myself. And I think that I was quite authentic in my role.
Yeah. And you've touched corporate as a boot camp. I love that idea because I think like everything we have in our path is gearing us up towards the next. But then corporate by its nature is masculine. I was also in data and all of those things. And you get used to presenting, but it's not you. You're just presenting knowledge. Like you can hide behind that. And I found myself hiding behind that, and I still hide behind that online, is the sharing the knowledge rather than sharing me.
That's exactly it. You've hit the nail on the head, because it's like when you're selling the view of the agency or the company and you're hiding behind principles and frameworks that aren't yours, you're just selling someone else's work.
Yeah.
Very different to like selling yourself and who you are and your values. There's nothing to hide behind when it's your own
No, because as you rightly say, if they're going to judge, they're judging the work. It's not you.
Yeah, you can't take it personally.
Yeah. How did you get to the point where you finally took the leap?
So this is a story, but it was October last and my health had hit rock bottom. I was diagnosed with 15 different chronic illnesses, including things like Hashimoto's, chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue, lots and lots of different things. I was getting sicker and sicker to the point where I literally was struggling to move. Like when I'd walk the dog, I'd literally have to sit on a bench halfway through the walk. I'd be so exhausted. And I was like, I cannot physically do this anymore. And I had a call with a German new medicine practitioner, and this person was basically saying, you cannot heal in this environment. Like, it's so fast paced. There's so much stress. You have to always be on. She was like, I'm just going to put it really bluntly. You're not going to heal. You're just going to get worse. And it's like, I knew that, but I needed someone to tell it to me plainly and bluntly. And she also talked to me about something which is fascinating, which is the wrong path complex, where it's like, if you're going down the wrong path, your soul kind of tries to stop you by like freezing your body. And it's like, well, I had chronic fatigue. I couldn't move. And it's like almost literally stopping you in your tracks. And it just like gave me goosebumps. I was like, oh my goodness, this is what is happening to me. And straight after that, I had a call with my boss, and it was a very vulnerable call. I was literally like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I was just so bored. And he was amazing. He was so understanding. He was kind of like, where do you want to go from here? How can we support you? And off the back of that conversation, there was a niggle in me being like, just quit. But I couldn't do it. It's like the corporate world had these claws or hooks in me that were pulling me so hard that I physically couldn't break free. So we agreed on like a middle ground. So I went down to 4 days a week in October last year. I ended up having Wednesdays off, which was amazing. I finally found some kind of balance because I'd work for 2 days, have a day off, work for another 2 days. And on that Wednesday, I'd like probably do half the day of like self, like healing, rest, and then half the day of like doing a bit on my business versus having to like cram that in the evenings and stuff. And I finally felt like content. It was kind of very obvious that that was me kind of phasing myself out. And it was like, I actually, after that conversation with my boss, I ended up spending the whole day literally crying and shaking because it's like, on some level, I knew that I was unhooking myself from the corporate world. And it was like a trauma response. And I just, it was such a big step for me to kind of like even go down to 4 days a week because I knew that I would never kind of end up going back to 5. So that happened. I was doing that for a while, bumbling along, and I wasn't unhappy. Like things were good. And then in January this year, my boss sat me down. He was like, look, you need to go back to 5 days a week. You're head of digital and media agency. This is a pivotal role. We've got all these pitches coming up. Like it's a big role. We can't really have someone in the role for 4 days a week. And I was like, I get it. I totally understand. Like if I was you, I would think the same. It doesn't make any sense. He was kind of like amazing, like offering me some different solutions. But in my gut, I was like, I can't go back to more. I'm just going to go backwards. So before I could let my mind talk me out of what my gut was telling me and tell myself that I just needed to, go back to 5 days, like jobs are hard to come by, all this kind of, scarcity thinking, I literally handed my notice in before I could talk myself out of it the very next day. I just did it. And then I had a 3-month notice period to figure it out. So I was like, okay, hand my notice in January. By the end of April, hopefully I'll figure out some kind of plan around what I'm going to do. But it was a massive leap of faith. Like, I think I spent the whole day crying, like trying to release the trauma of handing in my notice and breaking away. It was a lot.
Yeah, it's like, and you said it, like the tentacles, which is, they're stronger than people realize because the tentacle really at the end of the day, well, I mean, there's many tentacles, but you're going from secure to uncertain. But there's so many tentacles there as well because we're taught from a very young age that our worth, our value, all of that is through this achievement loop, and they almost catch you on that too. It's all these kinds of things come up.
It's so much. I was literally shaking.
Yeah.
I just had to feel the fear and do it anyway.
But you knew, right?
Strong knowing.
No one doesn't have that knowing. Like before I made the leap, there was a sliding door moment that came to me like maybe 6 or 7 years before I even did it, where I just come off a backpacking year and I went back into corporate because I needed money and I was in London, probably working similar to where you were. And I was 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, I started getting severe panic attacks. And I remember sitting in the bath, like having a full-blown panic attack. And I'm like, I know what you're trying to tell me right now. Like I knew I had to get back on whatever journey I was going on, but I was way too scared, just way too scared. I didn't listen that time, but it was so overwhelming. I'm like, I know what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah.
That's what the soul does. If you don't listen, then they just get louder and louder and louder. You can't avoid it.
The decision is kind of made for you, right? Like the universe will do something to knock you onto your path.
This is it. And people often ask me like, well, how do I know I'm on the right path? I'm like, you're going to know if you're on the wrong one. Like if we keep forcing down something that we're not meant to force, your body will collapse at the end of the day if you don't.
Absolutely. And I truly believe that I would probably have been in hospital or something by the end of this year.
Probably, yeah.
Because it was honestly getting that bad. Some of my health problems have literally just gone away. Like it's an actual miracle. I can't wait to tell my doctor about it.
You're coming back into the natural rhythm of how we were always supposed to live. Like this is why the system is so heavy, because it's completely got us out of touch and out of tune with who we actually really are.
Exactly. And you're so busy away that there's really not any time to even hear or get any clarity. Like it's just like, it's so full, isn't it?
And it's like, I remember all I wanted to do at the end of the day, my brain was just so gone. All I want to do is go and do watch shitty TV, eat shit food, drink wine.
100%. That's exactly it. You just want to escape at the end of the day and just something.
Yeah, you just can't. Like it's this negativity that feeds on negativity that keeps you stuck in where you are. But then the niggle doesn't go away. So it's like you can't sit in that and enjoy it either.
No, exactly. So yeah, there's always something eating away at you, I guess.
You listened to the niggle, you followed your gut. What then happened after that?
So I was just getting signs everywhere to rest.
Yeah.
And obviously after 16 years in corporate, I just needed some time out. I only gave myself 4 weeks off, which looking back now, I'm like, probably should have been longer and what was wild to me is that like how much we fit into our days when we are working, because I was off, and it's like, well, in my life, get up, you know, shower, get ready, walk the dog, make some breakfast, do some chores, like do a food shop, do some admin, walk the dog again. It's like the day's gone. And it made me realize like just even living takes up the whole day. And I could not believe how much I had crammed into my days when I was just doing all the basic stuff to get through the day and my corporate job.
Yeah.
Because it never got to the point really in those 4 weeks where I was sitting around doing not much, because it's like, you know, even just like keeping the house and like looking after my pets and like, you know, doing basic things, like it takes some time. But yeah, I also did go to the Blue Mountains for a bit, got a cabin in the woods and just did a bit of a digital detox, which was amazing. And then I'd probably say after 3 weeks, I just noticed like massive changes. Like my hair got shinier and like my skin got brighter and like just I looked different. I was sleeping better. I had energy. I didn't feel tired anymore. I wasn't waking up with migraines, headaches, brain fog, all of that had gone. I could think much more clearly. But also when I first left, I actually had something called nervous system dysregulation for probably like the first week and a half. And it's like your soul knows you're not just going on holiday for a week and then going back to work. Your soul knows that all of the weight of everything has just gone. And it's like my nervous system really struggled to shift from being in survival mode to being completely rested. And I like couldn't even sit and watch TV that week. I would be shaking, on edge, irritable. It was like all this stuff was coming out, and it did take a while to recalibrate. Yeah, it was a weird feeling.
It does. When I left London, I had 3 months, and the moment my nervous system let go, which took a little while, I got so many illnesses. I had everything go wrong. I had eye infections, skin infections, chest infection, everything. Like everything was coming out because the body's just like, that's my cycle though. Whenever I've pushed it too far, my body it just gets sick. It just needs this like recalibration.
Yeah, exactly. I mentioned to you before this as well. I have also just been like fluey for the last 4 weeks. So I think that's fine. I was like, oh, it's weird. I haven't been sick yet. And then I was like, oh no, here it is.
Well, because you are still coming out, and like I've been out for a while now, and even just like training the nervous system to slow down and all of that just takes so much time because it's so wired in us to do that. So because I want to go back to this gut feel, because I know this is what other people are going to be experiencing and sitting in the moment where you get this really loud gut feel, and then your ego is going to come in and give you all of these, oh yeah, but this, and this, which is typically all the safety and stuff. And you did what I think most people almost need to do, is just almost go with the gut quickly before you come back on it and then let it unfold. What have you noticed or experienced unfolding from trusting your gut? Because when we do have that, we've taken the leap in the right direction. We have a bit of a stream come through. What's happened, or what have you noticed?
Interestingly, there's been a few times in my life where I've just kind of like jumped off the cliff, taken a massive leap of faith, and just like been so fearful, but just hope the universe would catch me. And to be honest, every time I've done that, some kind of reward or magic has been on the other side. So this time I was very lucky that I had a bit of money come in that was totally unexpected. Like not in a million years would I think that would be a thing. So I knew that was kind of my version of the universe like rewarding me. But it's funny, it's like that always comes after you've made the leap, never before. Because it's like you're kind of like, universe, show me something that it will be safe, like show me that I'll be looked after. But the thing that kind of rewards you only ever comes afterwards. So you kind of just have to go first, is my pattern anyway, and what I've kind of learned in my reality.
It can't, but I think that's general, right? Because if you're trying to clutch for security, then you're not actually trusting. The truth is going to ask you to go into complete uncertainty and trust that what comes is literally what's supposed to come, and it always does.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't get the clarity before you leap, that you get the clarity after.
100%.
Oh, good. And so from your journey making these leaps, what are you the most proud of so far?
I mean, hands down, the whole fighting my fears. Like, I feel like my fears were like a level 10, and I can't explain to you like how scary all this has been. So the fact that I have decided to feel the fear and do it anyway, like I'm so proud of myself, because they were really, really kind of like crippling for me. So yeah, I'm 100% the most proud of that, and just trusting myself, just trusting my gut, and just taking a leap of faith. And like, you know, even if it doesn't work out, I'm going to have no regrets, because it's like I followed my gut, I followed my passions. And I think my biggest fear in life is actually like being on my deathbed and thinking I haven't reached my full potential. I actually can't think of anything worse than thinking that I've like kind of somewhat wasted this life and not done what I set out to do. So I'm just so proud of myself that I've kind of made that step.
Yeah.
in the right direction, regardless of what happens. Like it was taking those hooks out, it was unbelievably hard. The
Yeah.
grip that corporate world had on me, it was so strong.
It is strong. And I love that you said that at the end of because I guess the other thing I've noticed with this path is you are going to fail and then it can get the better of you. But at the end of the day, no matter if you've lost money, you've lost time, things have failed along the way, which happens to everyone that's been successful anyway. I wouldn't regret any of that because I tried. And I think people think, oh, it would have been better not to. But if you even put yourself in the energy of being back and not have done anything, you'd just be thinking about not having done that. So your whole energy would be on that anyway, because you can't escape the niggle.
You can't escape.
You just got to start listening and be like, okay.
And trying to quieten the mind, which is always trying to keep you safe and small and stark most of the time.
And so I'd love to, for women who got the tentacle hooks in corporate, what would your words of encouragement or advice be for them?
I think you can start small. If you've got that niggle, but you don't know even what you do outside of corporate, I'm not suggesting that you just kind of quit, but I think like you can just start following your passions. So I strongly believe that your passions are directions to your purpose. So I think like small things like thinking, okay, what really lights me up outside of work? What am I really passionate about? What am I doing? And the time just flies by. And I think like just investing time into that, kind of like I did with the spirituality. Like honestly, I had no idea I was going to have a podcast, no idea I was going to be a human design coach, no idea I was going to do paintings for people. So it was like all those things just stem from like very small passions and curiosities that I had, and they just grew completely organically over time. And I think it's like that analogy where it's like the staircase and you can only see the next stair but you can't see the full staircase. It's like you just follow the breadcrumbs and just trust that it will take you there. And it's like even the most obscure thing, like if you've got a passion about it or a desire to do something, it's there for a reason. So I just think like start with that and see where that takes you.
Yeah, I think when I was trying to work out where I was going in my mind, I had concluded I would be an organizational psychologist. And I don't want to work in corporate. That was just my logic putting it on. But then on the side, I was always exploring spirituality, just doing energy courses because I just wanted to do energy courses. And then it just kind of trickles and you find what you lean into and what you love just purely from your own journey.
Like the universe will make it happen.
Yeah, it'll happen when you're on the right path.
Yeah.
And so what's in the future or your next steps for you in your journey?
So right now I have been focusing on building this business, like expanding on what it was for the last 2 months. So I'm very much in the building phase right now, literally getting the foundations of my business right. And the future, like over the next year, I really just want to grow it, scale it. I would love to be able to have the same income that I had from my corporate job. That's a big goal of mine. I'm also training as well. So I'm just kind of upskilling in other modalities and just trying to make myself a bit more well-rounded as a coach.
Yeah.
In my future, I just really want to live a really present and intentional life. Personal goal of mine. I just want to enjoy my days and be present and do everything with intention. I don't have any specific big goals for the future, but if that's how I can feel every day and I can, money from my business that allows me to travel and do the things I love, that's kind of all I'm aiming for right now.
Yeah. And I think that's when you do come out of corporate and you step into this path, at least for me initially, my definition of success was still very anchored into what the corporate journey will be, where it's like, you almost come at it from a legacy piece, almost like, oh, look at what I've built, blah, blah, blah. That energy can't last very long. Now I'm like flipped the whole other way. I'm like, how do I create space in my life? How do I just want the happiness and fulfillment and enough to be able to do what I want, but it doesn't become about anything else anymore. It's like, how do I create happiness, really?
Exactly. It's just like living life in a totally different frequency, isn't it? And I think like for me, the whole transition from being in fight or flight survival mode to like living in this place of like alignment and just making sure my frequency is on point. Like I'm still working on it and it's so, it's early days, but it is a journey, isn't it? To really transition from that to that.
And I even started my business in the corporate frequency, you could say, of only like learning how to do systems and hustle. Got the very evident universal signs, not working. And then I kind of flipped into this part where I went deep into alchemy and energy work, and everything's gone much slower, but I've built the foundation on running with this energy of like, it's following the gut, not this, and going, okay, that's next, then that's next, and then we'll just fold it. which does run naturally slower, but you can't rush this path either.
No, it's a totally different way of working, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
hustle culture is not going to work when you're building a soul-led business. And it's like, for me, I'm finding that transition, like I'm learning a lot.
Yeah.
It's funny, like literally when I wake up and I'm in this frequency of like flow and like, the downloads are dropping in and it's like, okay, like the universe is your business coach. Okay, what do I need to do today? Okay, these three things, and like messaging ideas pop in and all that kind of stuff. And it's so aligned. And then there are other days where I'm just like in a rush, got 15 things onto my to-do list, try and get through them. And it's like, okay, my computer's shut down, tech glitches, ideas aren't coming through. And it's like, if you work in this way, you can get twice as much done and it just effortlessly comes out. For me, I seem to be blocked. It's like the universe is trying to pull me away from that way of working by like shutting down my computer, whatever it might be. So it's been a real learning curve.
Yeah, then the last thing I've been called is to get a VA because the space creation isn't occurring right now. And I'm like, okay, I'm aware. And it's like bringing in the support. Everything for Soul Led is bringing in the support to have the space to create it and bring it through. So yeah, you can't do it in hustle. It's literally impossible.
And that space in the day is so important, isn't it? To really get those like divine downloads and those ideas that are so valuable to push you on a journey. I like try and schedule now in my diary like half an hour of like rest or contemplation time. So it's not meditation, it's literally kind of like where I'm just literally sitting on my sofa watching the birds and the trees out the window, seeing what comes through. I try and do that every day and like it just really resets me.
Yeah, I think even there's a lot of really, I've started listening to podcasts of these like quite high up business leaders, and a lot of them have a like morning meditation download practice where there's a recognition. And I think even it was a reel with Teal Swan where she said the people that are most successful aren't the ones that run the quickest. They're the ones who sit back and wait for alignment and then they take the flow.
And then that's you way faster than,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I think that's the trickery of corporate working is busyness. If you really assess a lot of what you did in corporate, a lot of it total and utter crap anyway. It's just busy to be busy. That's just like an addiction, like, oh, you're better at your job because you're so busy. It's like, well, if that was the case, well, someone else said if hard work equaled money, then everyone would be rich. I guess just to wrap things up, do you have any final words of wisdom, advice for any women that are getting that niggle? They might be stuck in corporate, considering that leap.
I think it's really important to find people that have done it to make you believe that it's possible. Because I think like when you don't have anyone around you who has started their own business, has been successful, and you're just seeing people on Instagram that have done it that you don't, it's hard to be able to relate to them and realize that that's also possible for you. So I think it's really important to find that community, to have coffees with people that have done it. And I think it kind of like just expands your belief set around what is possible, and it makes it feel more relatable and more real for you.
That's a key one. I don't think I got very far until I did get into some form of community or support, because otherwise no one gets it, and also no one really cares. I actually feel like that might have been one of the starkest things, is realizing everyone around you, even your family, are like almost not supporting. Be like, what are you doing? Why don't you just go back? Why don't you just go back?
They just don't get it. I think especially the older generation, it's like, oh, it's a secure, stable job. Like they can't fathom that you're kind of leaping and you won't have a consistent salary. And I think they find it really hard to relate to it. And even people that are stuck in the corporate world and they can't see themselves doing anything but working in corporate, it's like they just can't fathom what you're doing, and I don't think they can support you because they don't really know how. They're just kind of like, that's not even in their reality, is it, that they could do that for themselves?
I find there's two buckets of people. There's the ones that have got envy and they may not even fully be aware that they've got envy of the courage that you've actually taken the leap, and they can get a little bit nasty. And then you've got the ones that just don't get it, and there's no energy there. They just like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And then you have family.
Yeah. And then you've got the ones that think that you've gone crazy. I've had a lot of that. Like, are you okay?
Yeah, I've had that. I've even taken my family off social media because at the beginning days they were not particularly wonderful on that one. Yeah, it's an interesting one, which is why, as you say, you've got to get around people that are doing it.
Exactly. And it's just like everyone else's measure of success is so different to yours, and what they value, and yeah, a whole new world.
Yeah, and it is like it's almost be prepared for a shift out of the core people who you spend your time with.
It's surprising who will support you as well. Like for me, people that I would never have expected have been really supportive. And
Yeah.
like people that come out the woodwork that I'm not necessarily the closest to, you know, and then maybe people that I am closer to like haven't been so forthcoming. It's interesting. Who
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, supports you on your new journey.
Yeah, it's less than I had thought, but then I think I've had a full shift out of people, and you just align with people that are moving in the same direction as you, because that's just what we do. It becomes harder and harder to relate in when you're
Mm.
doing something quite different.
Yeah. The only other piece of advice I'd have is just around fighting that fear. It's like
Mm.
when you're in it, it's so consuming that you almost think you're the only one in the world that has that level of fear, you know, and you're like, oh, but like I'm seeing these people who are really successful and they're like 10 years into their business. And like you don't really think about what they felt like at the start. You just think, oh, it must have been easy for them. But surely everyone goes through this of having to really feel the fear and do it anyway. And it's not for the
100%.
faint-hearted. Like it takes courage. And I just think like go for it. There's nothing worse than, you know, being on your deathbed and having regrets, in my opinion.
No one doesn't face it. And I think at least I've heard it in my sphere or coming into my sphere is a lot of the very successful people. They're like, but you don't know how many times I failed to get here, like how many
Mm.
businesses flopped over to get here.
Yeah.
And the thing I totally underestimated, but my soul chose the path of the business development, is it's a personal development journey. You are up
Hmm.
against yourself at the beginning
Yeah.
before you ever really probably get very far. And then you're working on yourself, your energy, and your belief that you can do it.
Hmm.
The moment you get that in play,
That's why the self-work is so important, right? Like 20% of my week is spent doing self-work and working through my limiting beliefs and all of that, because it's like you can't go into this new way of working with your old belief set. Like you do have to work on your self-worth. You have to know that you're good enough. Like all of these things will crop up. And I have done so much self-work. And honestly, since I've started this journey, every single day, I'd say like two triggers pop up. It's like it's insane how much I'm being like tested or like triggered or like how many limiting beliefs are coming up and things I thought I'd worked through. And as you said, like it is a personal development journey. And I
yeah,
think like that self-work is a fundamental piece of starting your own business because
yeah.
without that, you're not going to go into it the right energy, you know?
And you won't sustain it because the energy of like a hustle or a force is only going to keep people going so long. If it's truly mission based and soul led,
Mm.
you're always going to be working on your layers of to expand in, but you just get more used to the voices that drop in over the time and you're like, yeah, okay. Like the voices that tell you that you should just give up.
Mm. Yeah.
It's too hard as well. And then you just get more and more used to that voice. You're like, yeah, cool, you can come in for a little bit, but we're still going. I'm sorry, we're
Yeah.
still going.
Yeah. Exactly.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. I'm going to pop your links at the bottom of the chat for anyone who's interested in human design artwork as well. I mean, I'm a massive fan of human design, Gene Keys astrology, for understanding the direction and where we're meant to go. It's played such a key piece to my
Yeah.
journey. Or
So
just like,
exciting.
yeah, and like confirming what you kind of probably always felt, and then you see it there, you're like, oh, that's why
Mm.
I'm that
Yeah.
way.
Great validation. It just gives you this little confirmation that you're on the right path for sure.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Mm. Little confidence boost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you. I've loved this chat.
Mhm.
Thank you. See ya.
See ya.